One of the best things you can be in life and be in business is more outgoing and more approachable when it comes to making new friends. I thought I'd use this time between us to talk about my history, how I'm more outgoing, more boisterous, how I make great connections, how I shake more hands, and how it's benefited me in my life and in my business. Now, as far as I know, as a kid, I was always very outgoing. I never knew any strangers. Everybody was a friend. I had no problem talking to anybody, random people. I don't ever really recall having that fear, but I know that a lot of people do have that fear. They are extremely afraid of approaching people, talking to people, making friends, things like that. I've thought about my history and what it took for me to get over that, and at one point in time was that I realized I was more outgoing and it wasn't so much a fear for me, and I could think of a couple of different milestones or experiences I've had that made me as outgoing and as more approachable as I am. Like I already pointed out, as a kid, I was already very outgoing and very approachable. I didn't see an enemy in every room. Everybody was a friend. I would come up and talk to everybody, probably to the point where it scared my mom because, most parents like their kids to be afraid of strangers, and I was never, ever afraid of a stranger. As I matured and went through marching band in high school, and I was basically doing public performances, we had to be a little bit more boisterous, a little bit more outgoing in order to attract the attention of the judges and of the different people, in the world of competition. I'm not sure if that ever really helped, but even in that era of my life, which is towards the end of formal education, I've always noticed I was very outgoing and very boisterous. Once I joined the military back in 1986, a friend and I picked up a side job as master of ceremonies and disc jockeys, which means on a regular basis we had to be on a microphone talking to a large group of people. Most of them sober, but a good chunk of them were also intoxicated. And so we always had to be entertaining. We always had to introduce events. We always had to basically make people enjoy their time with us in between playing the music. But, everyone would come out to see us, to have a drink, and to get away from the stress of life. And it was very important that we talked on a regular basis. And I think in that era of my life, I really got comfortable with speaking in public and realized that I wasn't so much concerned about making mistakes as I was making sure people had a great time. Eventually, later in life, as I embarked on a technology career, I realized that I really enjoyed teaching and speaking in public. So what I would do is I would get involved in teaching classes at the different companies that I worked at. Most people would shy away from teaching classes, especially technology classes, because you have a very rough crowd, but I would never shy away from those opportunities. I would always look forward to them, jump at the opportunity, and while everybody else would be rather, sitting at their desk, I would rather be standing up in front of a classroom teaching what I know and sharing it in somewhat of an entertaining way, because technology can usually be a pretty boring topic. Eventually, as I left my formal job and I had to embark on my own career in 1998, being able to speak to a group of people, whether it was 2 people or 200 people, became essential in business. I was traveling all over the world to different countries, speaking about technology and training people on the technology for the company that I was working for. And I was actually identified as a consultant and as one of the better trainers because I was able to communicate the ideas very well. And I can remember just different times over the years where people said that they really understood and liked the way that I conveyed the technology for that particular company. And so over my 18 years in business, it's just been really beneficial for me to be able to express myself in public. I've ended up with more business. I've ended up in better business. And there's even one particular time I can remember standing in an airport line in Oklahoma City where being more outgoing and being more approachable landed me several $100,000 in business with the U.S. government just from chatting with somebody in the airport line. So I've always noticed that I've benefited from being more outgoing and less fearful of what people think of me. I thought I'd review some reasons why I think people aren't as outgoing as I am, and these aren't really faults or problems. These are just different reasons that I think people just sometimes have a little bit more fear of being more outgoing. And the first one, I think, is sometimes as a kid, when you're more outgoing, if you think, primarily in elementary school, middle school, and high school, when you're more outgoing, kids are cruel. And kids will make fun of you. If you're someone on stage who's in theater and you're performing, or you're a musician, or you're doing anything theatrical, and you're on stage and all your buddies are in the audience, they're poking fun at you, they're laughing at you, they're throwing stuff at you, and they're not really the kind of people that encourage you. They are your peers, and you really respect the opinion of your peers, and your peers are being kind of cruel to you. So you may have had some past experiences that have really kind of dissuaded you from having this attitude of it's okay to put yourself out there, to be more public, to be more vocal with your opinions. So past experiences are one. And past experiences might also lead to my second point, which is I think people have a really high fear of making mistakes. It's one thing to make a mistake when you're at your desk by yourself on a computer, there's nobody around you. But when you make a mistake and you're talking to a group of people, for some people that can be mortifying. Sometimes you may be talking to a group of people that appear smarter than you, or have more wisdom than you, or in some cases are just more understand the topic more than you understand it. And you get up to give your opinion about it, and you may say one wrong thing, and somebody may beat you down and say, you know what, you made a huge mistake there. That's not at all what's going on. And so once you make that mistake, it may really be harmful psychologically, and you may really want to kind of turn back into an introvert and never do that particular type of speaking event again. And that goes along line with my third one, is fearing what people will think of you. Even if you give up and give a perfect presentation, sometimes you may fear of how people, the opinions that people have of you. From the moment you're standing on a stage or in front of a room of people, you are being judged and listened to. People are judging everything from the tone of your voice, to your rate of speech, to how your hair looks, to how your makeup looks, to how your clothing lays, to how you walk, to how you use your hands, to how your slides look. There are 100 different things that people are judging about you once you are in front of a group of people speaking. And if any of those are not perfect and someone makes a comment about them, that can be mortifying to you. And so that may be another reason. And the last reason may be something simple as you don't feel that you have anything to say. Oftentimes, when people approach me about going into a public speaking career, they're like, I love the idea of public speaking, but I have nothing to say. And so then we have to work with them through that and figure out, well, what's your business? What's your message? Why do you enjoy public speaking, or why are you afraid of public speaking, and how can we get you over that fear when you don't think you have anything to say? So those are a few reasons there why people come to me and say that they do not want to get involved in the world of being more outgoing, or specifically public speaking. Now, I'm going to run through some benefits that I've had over the years by doing it, and then maybe give you a list of things you can do next to get started yourself. First of all, I can tell you that I've made more friends by being more outgoing, for lack of a better term, exposing myself more, wearing my heart on my sleeve, wearing my opinion out there, just in that whole area of being more vocal about what I think. I have made more friends. I can also tell you definitively that it has generated more business and better business for me. Whether it's speaking to someone one-on-one in a coffee shop line, or speaking at a conference, or doing a training event, being more outgoing and being willing to share my opinion in a very verbal fashion has helped my business tremendously. And so if you're someone who is an entrepreneur or wants to be an entrepreneur, this is going to be a skill that you're going to have. And one of the last benefits I've realized as being someone who's more outgoing or more willing to speak up in public is you're actually considered more of an expert, and people will buy more from an expert than they will from an amateur. And the really only difference between an expert and an amateur are the people who speak up. It's not what's in our brains or how much experience or intelligence we have about a particular topic. The expert is the person that stands up and says something about a topic. It's not the person who knows the most. It's the person who says the most and markets the most. And so if you're someone, like I said, who's going to be an entrepreneur, or you want to be an entrepreneur, and you want to get your opinions heard, you want to be considered an expert, being a public speaker, being more outgoing with your thoughts, feelings, and opinions is going to be crucial. Now, how do you get started in this world? How do you get started being more outgoing and being more approachable? It takes practice. All good things take practice, and you have to practice it on a daily basis. How do you practice being more outgoing? You talk to strangers more. I don't have any problem talking to strangers, whether it be at the bookstore, whether it be at the coffee shop. I have no problem approaching someone, finding a common point of interest, and then maybe introducing myself and saying, hey, I noticed you're drinking the same kind of coffee I do. What do you think about it? Have you tried this? Or when I'm looking at, business books or technology books, I'll see somebody has a book or they're contemplating a book, and I'll find a common point of interest. One of my best ways to introduce myself to a stranger has always been to find a common point of interest and then kind of leapfrog it from there. So find people in random places, coffee shops and bookstores are great places, and find a common point of interest and springboard from there. Also, I would encourage you to attend more public events where there are people that technically, quote-unquote, want to network. At these events, people attend for the specific purpose of meeting new people, and everyone's going there for the same reason you're going there, but oftentimes people that go there are really shy, and there's a lot of networking going on. So in those particular cases, remember that you're all there for a common purpose, whether it's you have a common love of scrapbooking, you have a common love of model cars, you have a common love of video game. Remember that you're all there in the same place for the same purpose, and you want to take advantage of that. You know what their common interest is. You don't have to worry about finding one like I was talking about earlier in a coffee shop or in a bookstore. You already know there's kind of common interest there. So use that common interest as a springboard to basically make a new friend and connect with that person offline, and that in turn will beget new relationships after that. So you're going to have to be more outgoing yourself. You can't wait for people to approach you when you want to be more outgoing on a particular topic. You are going to have to proactively go out and talk to people. And that's how you're going to build relationships, and that's how you're going to become better and more comfortable at it. And I promise you, the more public speaking you do, the more networking you do, you will become comfortable with it, and you will get better at it. And eventually, it won't be so fearful. There's always a little bit of fear. The fear never goes away. My fear technically never goes away when it comes to talking to strangers or introducing myself to strange people, whether it's a very small group of 2 people or it's a large group of 1,000 or 5,000 people. There's still a little bit of fear, but my interest in building my business, my genuine interest in other people's stories and their lives overrides that fear, and as a result, I've been able to make some great friends in this world, and I've had some great business contacts, and my personal growth has blossomed, as has my business growth. So I hope this has helped you maybe figure out how to be a more outgoing person. I'd love to hear your feedback on some other tips and tricks that you've done, or ways where you've seen your life or business transform or being a more outgoing person. Thank you for listening to the Stop Doing Nothing podcast. Be sure that you subscribe to the email list over on stopdoingnothing.com and follow the fan pages on Facebook, and we'll see you on the next Stop Doing Nothing podcast.